Hello and welcome to the What is Your Force of Nature interview series with the very lovely and amazing Rebecca Caroe, who I'm very excited to introduce to you today. Rebecca and I met a few years ago now at a networking event, and I've continued to bump into Rebecca and see her online in all sorts of amazing places. So it really is a privilege to have you here today, Rebecca, so that we can share the story about what is your force of nature. So welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great being here. I love being the interviewee for a change.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to be the one being asked. Yeah, for sure. So the purpose of what is your force of nature is to do something I really love to do, which is to ask other people about what they love to do. And whilst Rebecca and I met probably around other things to do with business that Rebecca has been involved with, today we're going to have a wonderful opportunity to talk with her and with you, Rebecca, about this other aspect of your life, which I remember, I think you even talked about it. So Rebecca's got this amazing background in rowing and still is a rower. And so today we're going to get into this whole area and find out where she's come from with regards to this. So Rebecca, in terms of our focus today, would you like to introduce yourself with regard to rowing so that we can get into this topic?
Yeah, so at school I was never the sporty kid. The sporty kids were all the cool ones, and I used to try really hard, and I was the goalkeeper on the second team, and I loathe netball, and I wasn't that good at anything except the 1500 metres and throwing the shot put. And then I went to university, and you know how they try and recruit you to the clubs and societies in your first week. And this man came up to me and he said, "Hey, you're quite tall. Why don't you try rowing?" I thought, "Sure, try anything once." And I just loved it from the get-go. It was a sport that suits my physiology. So I'm tall. I can't sprint to save my life, but I have strength and endurance.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's a repetitive movement that you can endlessly finesse. And I started rowing when I was at university and pretty much haven't looked back. I've had a few breaks from it, but since starting to learn, I've done different disciplines in the sport. I've become a coach, and I'm also now a blogger and a podcaster.
Right. So your podcast, I'm learning today. It's fantastic. I love this. You think you know someone a little bit, and then you get so much more. So is your podcast all about rowing?
It's called Rowing Chat. Yeah. And it's approximately monthly, and it's always an interview with someone else connected with the sport. And we've gone really wide and deep. So obviously we've done athletes and coaches. We've also done historians. We've done sports administrators. We've done people who run different rowing organisations, people who manufacture things, electronics and things like that. So yeah, it's really is an opportunity to do some very diverse Q&As.
Oh, wonderful. That's cool. And how long have you been doing the podcast?
Since 2014.
Oh, brilliant. That's so cool. So in Rebecca's other life, she's busy being CEO of a business called Creative Agency Secrets. And now, Rebecca, you've got, and I'm having a look at your website here today, a website which is talking about Row Perfect, and you are the rowing education expert. So tell us, where has rowing got to, as well as the podcast, in your life and business?
Well, Row Perfect started as a product company. My husband's then boss imported rowing machines to the UK, and I got involved because it was reasonably clear that neither he nor his boss are natural salespeople. And we sold rowing machines quietly, and it was just, a little bit of extra money. It was a mail order business. The internet came along, and so I insisted they put up a website, as you do. And that was probably in about 2001, maybe. Might have been a little bit later than that. And then in 2006, I discovered blogging. And so I started my own blog, and my own blog was about rowing and marketing, which are the two things I do. And then quite quickly I realised the overlap of people who were interested in both was probably very, very small. So I split them, and I made two different blogs, one for Creative Agency Secrets, which is obviously about marketing, and the other one I added onto the Row Perfect website. So Row Perfect then had the opportunity to be a communications medium. So it had always had an email newsletter, but it was just basically a PDF. And obviously we now had the chance to do something quite exciting. So the way I've always run things is I cross over from one to the other. So I use Row Perfect as a place to experiment with marketing tactics that I want to share with my clients on Creative Agency Secrets. So you just went on the website for the first time. Why don't you tell everyone what happened?
Well, I opened the website, and then I think I got a little notification to ask me if I'd like the notifications. I clicked yes and allow, and then I found that I'd subscribed. So it's all on. I'm all on. Consumer of information.
So what you're seeing there is an experiment that we're running, because I believe that a lot of people are no longer signing up to email newsletters. And we've definitely noticed the number of joiners and leavers each week is similar. But people are prepared to receive notifications. I think a different type of person wants a notification than an email. And so as a consequence, we now have about 1/6 of our subscriber base get notifications. Now, I cannot cross-reference them against my email subscribers, so it's possible that some people get both. But we find that more and more people are signing up on the notifications, like it's about 60 to 80 a week, compared with the email newsletter, which has dwindled to like 10 to 15 a week.
Okay. And so that's an interesting evolution in terms of how people are making use of websites, and it's great as I would expect, leading the bunch in terms of how people can make changes. But we have a look at Row Perfect. There looks like there's a lot of things going on in terms of the information and services that you're offering. Would you like to tell us about that? You've got resources for all sorts of people, and
So rowing is a sport that a lot of different sorts of people do. Within the sport, if you're active, there are obviously athletes and coaches, so that's two groups. And within athletes, there are also people who steer the boats, and they're called coxswains or coxes. So that's three groups in itself. We've also found that in common with a lot of other sports, that the masters side of the sport, so older people doing it, is a growth area, partly because it's low impact, you're sitting down. If you've got jiggered knees and you can't run anymore or whatever, it's a good sport, and a lot of people take it up because their kids are doing it. And so we've done a section that's just for them. And then we've also done a section for complete beginners, because there really is no place to go. If you've just started and you've got all those kind of beginnery questions, and there's nothing bad about those questions, but the smart thing is that when we get asked the question, we answer it obviously privately, either on email or Twitter or Facebook, wherever the question comes from. And Quora, actually, we get a lot of questions from. But then I copy it into a blog post as well. So I get 5 blog posts published every week. And those then get split into the different groups that you've just identified, some of which have newsletters associated with them. So if you're a Masters rower, you can get the Masters Rowers newsletter, and you'll only get information that's relevant to you.
Okay. And so are you targeting all of those groups in terms of supplying that information, Rebecca?
Yes, and the language and the depth is very different. So if you imagine within coaches, that group goes from people who are taking people to the Olympics right down to someone who is a volunteer on a Saturday afternoon in a small town somewhere. And fundamentally, they're there because they can drive a motorboat on their legal to drive a motorboat. So the range of experience is quite diverse. So it's quite a challenge.
And how diverse is your audience for all of this amazing information and all these resources? Where are they scattered worldwide?
They're mostly in the English-speaking world. Unfortunately for me, the countries that are active in rowing, a lot of them speak English, so Canada, America, South Africa, England, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand. So that's very fortunate. Also, thanks to Google Translate, we get a lot of visitors from European countries, particularly where they row. Having said that, our core audience are participants and coaches who are in clubs, high schools and universities. So the Olympic team, no. it's extremely unlikely that they would ever bother to come to our website because we're way below them.
Yeah.
But they're very good interviewees for the podcast, and they're a draw card for some of the other audiences.
Absolutely. And so tell me, this is a fascinating whole other world that you're involved with, and it must, like in terms of your week, there must be quite a bit of time you're putting into all these resources. You found something in rowing that you love, and I know every time that we've ever run into one another, I think it often comes up in conversation. In fact, I think Rebecca and I were at a conference that we were both speaking at recently, and Rebecca's kindly offered to take me rowing. Hey! So watch the space when I share that story. So I've always have wanted to give it a go, and I actually didn't get snaffled when I was at university like you did. So I think it's cool that you're so into it. I love that you're so passionate about it, because I'm most attracted to people's passions. I love it that you're so into it. It's awesome. So in terms of what's going on here, what's sort of the latest thing that you're getting into in Row Perfect? Are there current trends? Is it about the time of year it is in the season? Particularly say, for instance, here in the Southern Hemisphere, we're getting into summer. So does that mean that you focus on certain things?
Yes, there is a seasonality to it, particularly obviously for high schools and universities. It goes with the school year. So in the Southern Hemisphere, that's February through to November. In the Northern Hemisphere, it's September to July.
Yeah.
What's just finished this Sunday, just passed, was the World Rowing Championships, which happens every year. Just so that you know, New Zealand ended up second on the medal table behind it.
Hey.
So they did well. Yes. So that's obviously a global interest. Every country is interested in how their team is doing. But having said that, there are themes that recur every single year. So at the beginning of the season, we're going to be saying, let's get out the equipment and check it over and repair it and paint it and sweep out the boat shed and make sure it's clean and, simple maintenance stuff. Yep. Then there's always a new influx of beginners. So how are you going to make beginners feel welcome in your club? One of the nice and slightly unusual aspects of rowing is it's really friendly sport. If you want to do anything, you generally start doing it in a group, and it's the same group of people, so you really get to know them. You make friends. And one of the things on my club website, I'm the contact person for the Masters group, and I say we're a friendly group. We go rowing, and then we go out to breakfast at a cafe. Yeah. Because the flow from the sport to the social is deliberately overlapping, and I think it's more social than many other sports. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. And so when you say you go out to breakfast after, is that because you do it early in the morning and then it naturally breakfast flows on, or is it a Saturday morning thing for most people who are doing Masters rowing? How does it roll?
It's a Saturday morning thing, and yes, we do tend to row early in the morning. Rowers hate wind, and the wind tends to pick up mid-morning, and so what we want is nice flat water. So we row on a small freshwater lake on the North Shore in Auckland, which is called Lake Pupuki, and it's a public access lake, and there are lots of other people who use it. So there's a kayak club, there's a canoe club, there's a Wakarama, which is the outrigger canoes that the Pacific Islanders are really, really good at. There are sail paddleboarders, there are windsurfers, there are sailing. Now, obviously, windsurfers and sailors tend to want the wind, and the canoes are us. And then we had surf skis, which is people who surf in a canoe. Yeah. They were there at the weekend, so they just visit. And we organise the lake so there's a circulation pattern. And we can kind of do our little thing on one side and they can do their thing, and we don't obviously crash into each other. Because the problem with rowing is you're going backwards.
Yeah. So, and do you have a coxswain in any size boat when you're doing rowing? Or is that...
You have a coxswain in some boats and some are coxless. In fact, most of us are coxless because we need a coxswain. If you'd like to learn to cox, get in touch. You probably need to be under 70 kilos.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. But no, we tend to be coxless because it gives us more flexibility. And we row men and women all mixed together.
Okay.
But generally the season, as I say, flow, it's more of a summer sport than a winter sport, but people do train all year round as long as the water isn't frozen.
Right.
And then when it comes to the actual Road Perfect website, we tend to try and be reasonably seasonless. So the sorts of things that we write about are of general interest. And even if it's not relevant for you right now, we hope it's something you'll bookmark and then you can come back to later.
Sure.
And our basic business model is we have two types of things we sell. One is products, where we sell products other people make. So we're a reseller in that regard. And so we have a large database of people, and rowing is full of people who've invented some clever new way of doing something. And so we have a very big audience, and we can bring that person's product to the audience. And then the other thing we do is we sell ebooks and advice, which we do own. So we find coaches who are articulate and careful at explaining things. And then we write ebooks with them and training courses with them and videos and things. And so that's the second category of product we sell. And of course, that's pretty timeless. It doesn't matter what time of year, you still might have a need for it.
Great. So what sort of products, aside from the materials like ebooks, are you literally selling machines still, that type of product?
Yes, so we sell indoor rowing machines and we sell electronics for rowing. So we have an amplifier for a coxswain, so they have a little microphone and a speaker set. Then we sell things like rubber grips for your handles because they perish and wear out. We sell things like a little rear view cap mounted mirror. So it mounts on the brim of a baseball cap and it has a wire which you bend, and then it's a big it's like bigger than a dentist mirror, so you can see what's happening behind you.
Right.
We sell rowing gloves. A lot of rowers, if you can see my hands, get calluses along here and up the fingers.
Keeping it real.
It's a blister.
Yeah.
It's a blister.
That's
if you want to prevent that.
Yeah.
So we sell gloves and we sell blister tape, which is impregnated with eucalyptus and various oils. Now, the man who invented that, he's a drummer. He does hand drumming. But he spoke with a friend of his in his drumming group, and she's a rower. And she said, this would be great for rowing because we also get sore hands.
Yeah.
And so, hence a product not designed for rowing, we've introduced as a rowing product.
Yeah. Amazing. So where can, with the rowing machines, which are quite big things to ship around, can people order those anywhere in the world? Have you got it in terms of...
We only have the license to sell them in the UK and Ireland.
Yeah.
But if you get in touch with us, we'll tell you where you can buy them locally.
Oh, brilliant. That's awesome. So we were talking about early in the morning. What time do you go early in the morning to beat the wind?
On a Saturday at 7, we meet at 7 o'clock, and 7 o'clock on a Saturday is our jamming session where everybody arrives. There are no preset crews. We see who's there. Yeah. And so we mix up beginners with more advanced people. So it's a great learning opportunity.
Yeah.
The rest of the week, I often row before going to work, partly because I tend to end up staying late at work and I find it hard to get away and the traffic's worse. So I get up and I go rowing from 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I have a shower and then come into work. Right.
And do you have other club members who row with you weekday mornings as well? Brilliant.
Yes. That's right. We're very flexible, so we all row with whoever we want. And if you have a particular person or people that you want to row with, you arrange it in advance, and then we book a boat because the club owns all the boats and the oars. So we just have to make sure that two people aren't trying to use the same boat at the same time. Yeah,
that sounds like a good idea. So, Rebecca, what is it that you still love about rowing? What is it that just has captured your heart and your time and your energy to be so passionate about this still?
For myself as an athlete, as you age, your skills and your strength reduces. So I do two disciplines in rowing. One of them is called sculling, where you have one oar in each hand. And then the other discipline is called rowing, where you have one oar per person. And so I row in a range of different sized boats. And obviously, I quite enjoy racing, but I also enjoy getting in a boat with someone else who I've never rowed with before and seeing if we can make the boat run level, see if we can make it run smoothly, see if we can overcome the waves and the wind and the chop and other things and be skillful. So the endless search for the perfect stroke is just an ongoing rowing joke, because you never, ever, 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 ever can do, you might do one, but can you then do two, and then can you do 10? And then the answer is no, something happens. So for me, the search for perfection is there.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is I enjoy teaching. I teach in both of my businesses, and sharing my love of the sport and teaching other people to enjoy it gives me enormous pleasure and feedback. So I've taught young children from the age of 10 upwards, and obviously nowadays I tend to teach adults.
Yeah.
And adults are a really interesting challenge as an education object, because unlike children, we're hideously judgmental in our learning abilities. And we tend to try something. Like, have you ever tried juggling three tennis balls or something? You drop it and you just go, oh, I'm not really good at this, and you stop. Whereas a child will keep on trying, and they're not judgmental about themselves. So one of the challenges is to teach the adult beginner an open mind and to enable people to recognise small goals. Unfortunately, just between you and me, what happens when you're learning to row? It's like going up a flight of stairs. You take 2 steps forward and then you take 1 step back. But that's normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying new things does involve taking the risk of, stepping outside of your comfort zone. I've done that recently in a couple of different ways. And also I've been trying to learn something different in a physical activity. And if you haven't worked it out yet, it really brings home that whole message when you think about how kids are so prepared to keep doing until they get it. Whereas as adults, we often just, we kind of shut ourselves into our expectations or get locked in by our beliefs, which can get in the way of learning something new. So I think it's a really great thing to try something completely different to that you've done before, to experience that. It's a really good for your brain.
Yeah, I'm learning ocean swimming. I'm not a very strong swimmer, and it's exactly that for myself.
Yeah, go you, that's awesome. Hey, and whereabouts do you do your ocean swimming? Is that on the shore as well?
No, we don't. We do it on the city beaches at Mission Bay, Caroe and St Heliers.
Yeah, go you, that's awesome. So, what advice would you have for other people who are interested in rowing? What's a good way for them to start to get involved or to try it out? What's a good thing to do?
Find your local rowing club. So Rowing New Zealand, whose website I think is rowingnz.kiwi, they have a list of clubs. Go and find a club that offers a Learn to Row program. And I will say, if you are a gym member, please don't equate the gym machines with being on the water, because we obviously use them all the time, but the pleasure of being outdoors is massive, and it's so different from the gym machine. They are part of the same sport, but they are quite different. So if you've experienced one, go try the other.
Yeah, awesome. That sounds great. And in terms of where people can reach you, we've got the website here. Would you like to share that with the audience, Rebecca, so that they know where to find your wonderful resources?
Sure. So it's rowperfect, R-O-W perfect.co.uk. And if you want to email me there, I'm Becky, B-E-C-K-Y, @rowperfect.co.uk. We're also on Twitter as rowperfect. We're on Facebook as rowperfect UK. We're on YouTube. We're on Tumblr. And obviously there's a podcast which you'll find called Rowing Chat.
That's fantastic. I have to say, this has been the most unexpected and unique type of a person's force of nature that I've had yet, I have to say, Rebecca. I love that you're so into this. I really admire and enjoy your passion for all that you do, but particularly when you light up and you talk about rowing, it's so awesome. So thank you for starting to share with the audience today what you're doing at rowperfect.co.uk and all the things that people can have access to. And I also, from my perspective, when I've tried some different things this year, like I did a painting course, and I'm learning to sing. So I'm doing things that are right outside my comfort zone as well. And I think it's a great opportunity to think about doing something that will be really different. We get very entrenched in our comfort zones, I think. So if you happen to be lucky enough to live in Auckland, then you can catch up with Rebecca. And what's the name of your rowing club? I've got a bit of action in the background here.
It's North Shore Rowing Club.
Okay, North Shore Rowing Club, that's brilliant. So you obviously got a great person in Rebecca if you want to start learning as well and get introduced to the people. And I will update you when I have been along to have a go with Rebecca. I'll make sure that happens this summer. So thank you, Rebecca. It's been a real pleasure to have you on the What is Your Force of Nature show today, and have a great day.
Thank you, Kate.
Bye-bye.